Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video here on RevAtlas. I'm Sandeep, and in today's video we're going to be reviewing the Realme X2 Pro. So this is the latest flagship smartphone from Realme, and it is set to bring about high-end specifications and features at a really attractive price point. And in this video we're going to dive into details to see just whether or not it's worth your money. Now before we get started, please do give us a thumbs up at the end of the video if you happen to enjoy it, and also do hit the subscribe button to see more such content from RevAtlas on smartphones and other technological gadgets, etc. Now let's get this video started. Now for those of you who are already familiar with the design language of Realme smartphones, you'll find that the X2 Pro is quite similar to a smartphone that already exists on the market from Realme, and that is the XT. So the overall look and footprint is very similar, but there are a few changes that actually set it apart, particularly on the back side of the device. So you'll notice that on the X2 Pro, you'll see that the camera module is offset to the top left corner, and you also have the Realme branding in the bottom left corner. On the X2 Pro, however, you actually have the camera module that's centrally aligned, and you also have a kind of offset logo over here just below the camera module on the right side, which is quite different from where you usually see it. But this was sort of attempted with the special edition series on the Realme X smartphones. That was also over here, but again in a vertical way as opposed to the horizontal way. But I think that this is something bold of Realme to attempt, and I quite like it, to be honest. I also like having symmetry, I also like having stuff, but I also like that manufacturers are trying to push the envelope in terms of the design or whatever possible in order to create something that stands out, something that's different. So the overall look is very similar, but yet these small things do make it stand out from the rest of the Realme lineup. And in fact, even the color looks quite a bit different. It's not in the same sense of gradient as the Realme XT, but this too has a sort of purple tinge at certain angles, but this is more shiny and more reflective, I would say. And yes, this does come with Corning Gorilla Glass 5 at the front and back, and that also means that this does pick up fingerprints very easily, but that's something that's true with almost every other glass back smartphone in the market right now. In terms of the overall hand feel and in terms of the grip, it's pretty good, considering the sides also have a matte finish which prevents it from slipping out of your hands very easily. So you do feel some confidence even without using a case that you can actually pull this off, and not accidentally drop the phone itself. Now in terms of the display, there is slight changes and big changes. So starting with the slight changes, the display is now a bit taller compared to the Realme XT. This is now grown 0.1 inches in terms of size. So this is a 6.5 inch Super AMOLED panel, and it also has a taller aspect ratio of 20:9 compared to 19.5:9 on the Realme XT. And it also has one main feature which kind of is a game changer, and which is probably the reason that you're looking at the X2 Pro in the first place, and that is the 90Hz screen. Now, of course, the 90Hz screen needs compatible apps and games in order to be used to its full potential. But even while browsing through the menu and the UI as a whole, using 90Hz does make a difference, and it actually does feel a whole lot faster, even though the actual experience itself is more or less the same. Of course, it does consume more battery as well, but I would say that the trade-off you get for having a smoother experience is definitely worth it, especially considering this has a 4000 mAh battery, which we shall talk about later in the review as well. So overall, it's a very good display. I quite like it. There is a water drop notch now compared to the Realme X, which had a pop-up camera, but then again, that leaves more space for other components on the inside of the phone, as opposed to just having a pop-up camera, which is fancy, but a water drop notch is perhaps more practical as well. Now, it's a bit dim under direct sunlight, but overall I would say it's still great. but just that is a bit dimmer compared to some of the other AMOLED panels on the market, especially under direct sunlight. Considering this has a Super AMOLED panel, it also has an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's actually very fast and accurate and works in 360 degrees. It does take some time in order to actually register your fingerprint though, but I'm not complaining, since it's better to capture the fingerprint properly, make it more secure, more accurate for faster unlocking as well. So it's not really a downside, but just something that I felt was worth mentioning. Now you also get a front-facing camera for the face unlock, which of course is not as secure as the infrared methods of face unlock or other biometric unlocks, but still it is pretty fast, and if you don't want to use the fingerprint scanner, you can just use it and it bypasses the lock screen altogether, or you can also go for a detect your face and then swipe to unlock method if you prefer that as well. So the X2 Pro comes with the Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset. It comes with Android 9 Pie with ColorOS 6.1 on top, and so far the performance has been great both in terms of gaming, multitasking and performing heavy tasks. We have had no issues in terms of lag or stuttering or the phone just hanging. It's been performing really well so far, and we're quite excited, especially since ColorOS 7 is right around the corner. I expect, considering rumors say that that's lighter and faster and more optimized, it should make the X2 Pro even better than it already is. But the performance so far has been great, especially coupled with the 90Hz screen. It makes it seem even better than it actually is if you were using, say, even the 60Hz mode. Now this comes in two different variants in India. One is an 8 plus 128 or a 12 plus 256GB variant, and both of them will have dual nano SIM slots. So there's no memory expansion, but then again, I guess Realme doesn't want to ruin the experience that you get with the fast storage, since both of these come with UFS 3.0 storage, and it's great both in terms of performance on device and even when transferring stuff to your PC and back. You also get NFC. So this is one of the few devices which actually does not remove NFC compared to the China variant. So China usually gets NFC on all their devices since they use it for payment there, but many devices when they come here, they remove NFC for cost cutting and other things, but this still has NFC, and that's a definite bonus for Realme there. Now coming to the audio experience itself, the Realme X2 Pro comes with what they're calling dual linear speakers. So it has a bottom firing speaker over here, as well as the earpiece which doubles up as the secondary channel. So unlike smartphones that basically have a very feeble earpiece that outputs as a secondary channel, both of these are almost exactly the same, and the overall output even exceeded 100 decibels in terms of volume, and that's very rare. Other phones which kind of cross 100 decibels were the ROG Phone 2, for example. So this is incredibly loud, and the quality is also really great. One thing it doesn't have that much of is though in terms of bass, where the ROG Phone 2, for example, had much better bass in terms of the speakers. However, if you want bass and you prefer listening over the wired method, you can make use of the audio jack here, which is good even for driving higher powered headphones with ease. At the front you have a 16 megapixel f2 camera for the selfies, and at the back is where you have the quad camera system. The primary camera is a 64 megapixel Samsung GW1 sensor, 1 by 1.72 in sensor size, f1.8 aperture, 0.8 micron pixel size, which of course becomes 1.6 micron pixel size with pixel binning. And you also have a secondary ultra wide angle 8 megapixel camera with f2.2 aperture. You have a telephoto camera, is 2x optical zoom, it has 5x hybrid and up to 20x digital zoom as well, and it also has a portrait or a depth sensing camera as well. So there is no macro camera here, but the ultra wide angle camera itself can get quite close and take macro like shots if you want, using the ultra wide angle camera itself. So here are some samples that we have shot using the camera so far. We'll be doing a dedicated camera review of the phone as well, so stay tuned for that if you want the full analysis on the camera. But so far the results have been quite impressive, especially when you use the Gcam mode, which I shall also include samples in this video as well. Now the Realme X2 Pro also comes with a 4000 mAh battery under its hood, which gives you around 7.5 to 8 hours of screen on time if you're using the 60Hz mode, and around 6.5 to 7 hours of screen on time using the 90Hz mode. Now that's certainly impressive, but the main party piece or the trick that the Realme X2 Pro has up its sleeve is in terms of the fast charging. So this comes with the Superbook charger. It's a 50 watt charger, 5 volts at 10 ampere, and of course you do need to use the bundled charger and the cable in order to get the full charging speeds, but when you do, this thing goes like a rocket. I mean, in our test we got it from 0% all the way flat, a completely dead battery, up until 100% in just 31 minutes and 30 seconds. Now of course I have seen some other reviewers or YouTubers actually posting their times, which has been generally faster than mine, so I'm not sure what exactly is the reason, but even 31 minutes is not really slow for a phone that with 4000 mAh battery to go all the way up to 100%. That's insane. And I've seen even times as fast as 26 minutes or 26 and a half minutes for it to go from 0 to 100. So those few minutes practically make no difference. It's just more of bragging rights. But what this does allow you is practically to possibly change your charging cycle method. So I'm someone who actually plugs in their phone at night and unplugs it in the morning, just so I know that I have a fully charged phone to use whenever I want, considering if any other phone I plug it in, usually it takes an hour at the very least in order to charge from, say, a completely flat battery until it's kind of full. But with this, what you can do is just plug it in the morning when you wake up, and it'll still be ready for you when you're headed out to your office or whatever, considering it takes just half an hour. I'm sure that almost 90% of us take at least half an hour to get ready in the morning. So if not that, you can at least get, you know, almost 80% of charge in around 20 minutes. And even that is good enough to last you an entire day of use, considering the 4000 mAh battery as well. So that brings us to the conclusion of the Realme X2 Pro review. Now I just want to make it clear that at this point of making this video, I don't know the final pricing yet, but the box that I have of the Indian retail unit, and yes, this is an Indian retail unit and it does have NFC. I'm sure many of you are going to ask me that in the comment section, so I'm just stating it again. The box says rupees 31,999 for the 8 plus 128GB variant. Now generally what happens is manufacturers have an MRP and then the selling price is a few K cheaper than that. So I'm guessing we could see maybe 28,990 if we're really lucky, or 29,990 to be realistic, and that itself is a great price. Or even if it comes at 31,990, it's incredibly cheap for what it offers, I feel. And in fact, I think it's going to put the OnePlus 70 in trouble. The OnePlus 70, or a brand that kind of used to call their phones flagship killers, slowly turned into flagships themselves. But now Realme is here with a smartphone that has faster charging, better battery life, much cheaper, and in fact, as a smartphone overall, I still prefer this over the OnePlus 70, and that's why I feel that this is the new flagship killer. There's very few negatives that I can find in this, and maybe the only thing I can see is that the color OS might not be everyone's cup of tea, and many people prefer Oxygen OS over it. But other than that, I feel this is a better smartphone overall compared to even the 70, and it costs much lesser. I'll definitely recommend this to anyone who wants a flagship with an all-round performance. Thanks for watching this video. Please do hit the subscribe button if you liked it. See you again in the next one.